Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist, brought to you by the team at One Pitch. Are you looking for a more efficient way to find and pitch the right journalists? Head to our website at onepitch.co to learn more. Our guest on today's episode of Coffee with the Journalist is Lucy Morgan from Glamour. As the purpose editor and deputy website editor, Lucy is responsible for coordinating long-term policy campaigns at the intersection of politics, female empowerment, and sustainability. During the episode, Lucy talks about a story her team has been working on about Taylor Swift, the variants and sources she works with outside of PR, why she enjoys a quick in-person chat, and more. Let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with the Journalist. I'm Beck Bamberger, and what we do on this little show, which has been going a long time now, is talk with real reporters, journalists, editors, freelancers to understand how they like to work with publicists, because we all need each other, and it's a difficult relationship at times, which is what we unpack here. With us today, Lucy, are you coming from the UK right now?
I am, yes.
Oh my gosh, all the way from the UK. Lucy Morgan is with us today. She is purpose editor and deputy website editor of Glamour. And I can't wait first to talk with you, Lucy, about what a purpose editor involves. So let's start there. What does it all involve?
Sure. So the role of purpose editor was created in, I think it was July 2022. Essentially, Glamour is a brand that's really focused on women's empowerment.
Yes.
Part of the reason this role was created was to have someone whose sole role was to make sure that we are meeting that goal of creating meaningful content around women's empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially that we're still living up to our purpose of creating that empowering content. And that's why it's called purpose editor. So the job was created with me. I'm the first person to do this job, which is amazing, but I'm still very much, it's new territory. It's new territory for everyone, new territory for the brand. And obviously everyone I meet is really interested to know what purpose editor means. And it's really great to be able to shout about empowerment and politics and sustainability, and to get to say that that's work for a place that's passionate about promoting that.
I love it. How bespoke. Let's talk about your inbox, Lucy, because as an editor, that often is more complex, not just with pitches, but pitches possibly from freelancers and whatnot. Yeah. So do tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real mix at the moment. My inbox is nightmarish right now. I've just been on annual leave. I'm a bit poorly, and so I'm really just working my way through it. It's a lot of, to be honest, it's hard because there's so much exciting stuff. And sometimes I feel when I've got so many exciting emails that I want to get to, I feel like you almost have that, like, where do I even begin? So in my role, so I'm also deputy website editor, and that means, I deputize for Ali, Bianca. And so Ali Pantani is the website director, and she does a job share with Bianca London, which is really cool. Bianca is currently on maternity leave. So I sort of fill in the gaps, kind of.
You're doing all the things.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone at Glamour and
we all are.
Industry is like doing a million jobs. So I also like cover books as well. So I sort book extracts, and that's like one area that's like completely saturates my inbox, is like people trying to get me to do a book extract for Glamour. And it's so hard because like all the books that I'm sent and all the pictures around books that I'm sent are incredible. All about like these, empowering topics, about like really exciting books coming out. One of them is Romanticize Your Life by Beth McCall, who used to be our kind of mental health correspondent. That's sitting at the top of my inbox right now. I need to go through the PDF. I need to pick out an extract. I need to go through all that. It's a lot of work for one email. And so it's just kind of, but I will get there, as I always say to them. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. And obviously there's the emails that are very easy to just go through and I just delete because they're not for me. One is about like heart-shaped pancakes. One is about a new medication that's just come out. A lot of it is like Valentine's Day commerce stuff, which just isn't relevant to me. And so that's easy. That goes easily. But a lot of it is really exciting stuff that's harder to get through.
I love that you say it's exciting stuff. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever had someone on here in the 200 whatever episodes we've been on saying exciting. My inbox is exciting. I love that vibe. This is fantastic. It is exciting when you're sitting, I think, in a position that funnels so many phenomenal ideas and things. Of course, there are a lot of not phenomenal ideas that come your way, but that you get to see quite a swath, I imagine, across all these fields.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just I do feel very privileged that people are thinking of me and thinking of Glamour for these things.
Yeah.
I guess it's just finding the energy and the time to do justice to them, especially with the books and obviously with female empowerment pitches that come through. That often very sensitive topics. You need to give so much time and energy to each and every single one. And there's only 8
So much
hours.
only time. Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned just earlier, okay, heart-shaped pancakes, not for me.
Yeah.
Are you doing a review of your inbox, which you said is insane, by subject line alone and deleting from there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So that'll be the first thing I do is I'll go through and cut anything that I know from the subject line isn't for me and probably actually isn't intended for me. I probably ended up on a list somewhere and the PRs are just doing due diligence by sending it to me. Unless it's like someone's like repeatedly sending me like stuff that's just not right or needs to go to someone else in the organization, I will usually just like delete it and move on. Then I will start working kind of like methodically from like the oldest to the newest emails and actually go through it. And then I usually put books in a separate one because the book extracts are so time consuming that it needs to be a separate thing altogether. So I'll usually like set aside maybe 2 hours on a Friday to go and do like some book extracts, but the rest are manageable.
Okay. So for filing, let's say, do you file any pitches that you come back to eventually?
Yes. So again, it's like with the book. So I could have some amazing pitches and just know that I haven't either got the time or the brain space to get back to people. Because I used to be freelance before.
Yes, you get it.
This position. And I know what it's like when you've sent a beautiful pitch off, you've sent a follow-up, and this editor who you perhaps have spoken to before and you've met isn't responding. I don't want to be that editor. Like I want to send careful, considered emails back to freelancers because they do an incredible job and I know exactly what it's like. So they will get that email for the most part. It will just come a week later. But I think it's really important as editors to do that. I remember that like freelancers are in a much shakier position. There's more freedom for them. But in terms of like that regular work coming in, there's a lot more insecurity and we need to be like mindful of that. So I am always trying to practice that mindfulness around being prompt and being considered with freelancers, especially as I mentioned earlier, the pitches that come my way are often really quite personal on topics, ranging from everything from sexual consent, what it's like to have ADHD and navigate the mental health system. People put a lot of their life and experience into these pitches. And so I don't feel going, not for us, but thank you. Like I want to do a little bit more. But sometimes the perfectionist in me just overrides it. And then you're at a point where it's like, well, I can't do it perfectly, so I'm not doing it at all. And it's the same outcome. So I have to be so strict with myself.
Oh, gosh. So given the plethora of stories that are out there right now, and so many of these, as you're saying, is like heartfelt, personal, are there any that are particularly enticing you right now in this, let's say, early February timeframe that we're in of 2024?
I think first-person stories are Glamour's bread and butter. I think any women's empowerment brand or women first brand wants those first-person stories because they're inherently unique. They're hard to get because you're essentially asking someone to sell a part of their life to Glamour and for it to sit on our website. And that's really hard. And I don't want to be in a position where I'm commissioning writers to mine their own experiences and trauma if they're not, it needs to feel genuine. It needs to feel like there's a purpose to it. And so a lot of the first person pieces that we do will invariably be hooked to news stories that are taking over Twitter. At the moment, the biggest rumbling story is there are deep fakes are being circulated. Taylor Swift.
Yep, exactly.
And I've had a lot of brilliant pictures come through about that, about people who have experienced deep faking, or, they're concerned. They basically have so many opinions about this. Taylor Swift is such an interesting person because people expect so much from her, so many different things.
I know.
She's one of those really interesting celebrities. So I think anyone who comes in with an opinion or a perspective on a rolling news story like that, I'm always going to click on that first. I think because of that timely element as well. And
yes, the timely hook.
That I can't bring. I'm a white woman. I'm cisgender. I'm not disabled. If someone's bringing in a perspective other than that, I'd love to commission that.
What about sources that you're seeking? Is there a type of expert that you love pitches for?
Yeah, I mean, so we also do a lot on women's health.
Yes.
So I'm always kind of looking for experts across like doctors, GPs, experts in like reproductive health. Really hard to find good experts in these areas. I think there's a lot of sort of pseudo health professionals come through. They'll make it really easy for you. They'll send quotes that are ready to go. You can copy and paste and you can have them. And when I first started out as a freelance journalist, I thought, great, this is what we do. We have quotes, they're an expert, but it's not as simple as that. You need to cross-check with other experts. You need people who are really, really qualified, not just, I'm a doctor. They need them to be specialized in the field, and it's not good enough. When I'm editing work, sometimes a writer will have come through with a doctor who's qualified, but they're a man, and and it'll be specifically about like gynecological health. And they won't be a specialist in gynecological health. It'll just be a general comment. And I'll have to go back and say, I'm really sorry, but this person isn't fit for Glamour. That, then us, a woman reading this is not going to be comforted by a man with a big medical practice who is essentially wanting PR from us.
Yeah.
It's just not right. You have to meet in the middle somewhere. It has to be right for us, for it to be right for them as well.
Lucy, I can tell you care so much.
Yeah.
It's very apparent. And I love that. It like warms my heart. I hope everyone listening to this is like feeling that as well.
Today's interview will continue after this brief message brought to you by One Pitch. Are you curious to learn about the unique ways One Pitch helps brands engage with the right journalists? Head to onepitch.co and create your own custom media list in 5 minutes or less. Now back to today's episode.
Let me ask one thing about relationships, given your care, but of course your limited time. Yeah. You're in the UK. How do you make relationships with publicists? Ever in person? Ever via long-term email exchanges? How would you say?
I mean, Glamour does a lot of events. We have our Women of the Year event. We have our Empowerment Summit. Those kind of events are really nice to meet people who I've been having those long email exchanges with. So you do build up relationships over email. And I have so many great contacts who, if I need a legal expert, there's always one woman I go to. If I need a health expert, there's one woman I go to. If I need someone to talk about politics in the UK, I've got someone I go to. So I have these lovely contacts, but it's always nice for them to be in the same room and to meet up with them. I love going for coffee with people. I love actually putting faces to names. It makes life so easier. It's just hard with the time constraints that we're all operating in. I don't have time really to go for a nice long lunch.
No, who does? My God.
In this industry, and I feel like they were maybe a thing 30 years ago, but I work in an office full of young women who are all working extremely hard and don't take lunch. And we're all kind of baffled by the idea that we could like go for long lunches together. But maybe one day. But I would like to do it more, but my workload at the moment, just no.
I am stunned, by the way, whenever someone's like, "Oh, we can go for lunch." I'm like, what? Do you have 2.5 hours in the middle of the day or something? You know what though? What that tells me is that it's not a busy person.
Yes.
By busy equating to productive. And I'm like, nah, I don't know. I'm good with that. Or you're such an astronomical like billionaire that you do have that luxury. That's what it says to me.
Yeah. So our entertainment director,
Yeah.
Emily Maddox, she's incredible. A part of her job is sometimes taking clients out for long lunch.
Yes. Oh,
Sometimes I go with her, and it's incredible. I just think, yes. And obviously she's working so hard. These are like her relationship, like
ah,
working is another level. But yeah, sometimes I do like to tag along and see her kind of like shadowing,
yeah.
just see her do it.
Oh, that is insane to me, the lunch. Oh my God. Okay. So, but you are down for a coffee, a meetup, a something in person. Mhm.
Sure.
Are there, by the way, a seasonal type of question here as we get into just the year? Are there conferences? Well, obviously the Glamour ones, but let's see if there's more that you like show up to that you're like, hey, I will be here at this.
Yeah, I mean, as my role gets kind of like more traction, I'm
Mm-hmm.
invited to more and more things. So I went to the
Mm-hmm.
Women's Health Summit
Mm.
recently, which is basically the government's policy document on
Yeah.
women's healthcare in the UK. It's really great to be in those rooms. Before we had a purpose editor, I'm not sure Glamour was in those rooms. And obviously that's a room full of policymakers, of clinicians, of charity leaders. It's great to be in that room. And I'm hoping that we will continue to have a presence at these events that are all about women's empowerment, women's health, women's safety. I mean, women's safety is such a massive thing at the moment. We're actually hoping to organize our own events around this as well.
Mm.
So yeah, I can't say too much at the moment.
Yeah.
But
Okay. More is coming.
yeah.
By the way, this is not on the topic and it's definitely not on my sheet here, but how's your mood, attitude, let's say, on women's health generally? Are you optimistic? Are you feeling anger? I don't know. I thought you'd be the person to ask.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I wrote an article about the Women's Health Summit, and
Yes.
there's so many brilliant things that came out of it. They're taking baby loss and miscarriage more seriously. They're talking about
Mm-hmm.
periods very, very openly and talking about how so women will go to the doctors with period pain and it'll be dismissed there and then as period pain rather as being an indicator of something more serious.
Yes. Yes.
So there was so much good stuff to come out of it. But we have a women's minister in the UK who really seems to be very against abortion, which is her right.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
She's entitled to her opinions about abortion. But to one person in the room who asked a question about it, that seemed to be a disconnect. How can you have someone against a vital source of who is then kind of like creating policy around it?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that worries me. I mean, obviously, I think reproductive healthcare and reproductive freedoms for women are under attack in the UK and the US and just in the world more generally.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an area that worries me hugely. And we
Mhm.
do our best to stay on top of that issue. But yeah, I mean, there's so much about women's health that really
There really
terrifies
is.
me. It's a really scary thing. And anyone who's been to the doctor as a woman, especially if you're with a male doctor, it's a very vulnerable thing to go and discuss your health because you never know, especially if you're fat or if you're black.
Yep.
There are just different factors coming in where you can be dismissed and it's like, well, you lose some weight or this is in your head or just these little
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
dismissive things that are, that just
You
don't happen
be
as
the
to
entire, yeah, you have to be the entire advocate for you, or you will just be railroaded.
yes,
And like the time,
exactly.
the energy, oh gosh, it's
Yeah.
just exhausting. It's just exhausting. So, oh, well, thank you for that answer. Off script, everybody, but I liked it. By the way, okay, now some little like day in your life type of stuff, Lucy. Are there any books, publications, or content that you're just like, oh, I'm just drinking it in, or it inspires me so much?
Obviously, I love women's media. I love what Teen Vogue are doing. I think they're
Yes.
brilliant. I think they're really have created a niche for themselves that
Mm-hmm.
is in line with the Vogue brand, but is so distinct, so unapologetically for women, which is what Glamour is trying to do too. Obviously, we're beauty first.
Mm-hmm.
Vogue are very much politics first. I'm the purpose editor at Glamour, so I love what they're doing. And I think Teen Vogue I think someone released like a snarky article or something about some of the writers who worked there. And I just thought how easy it is to punch down on anyone who
Oh,
aligns
God.
themselves with women's content and
I know.
women's interests. And we get that at Glamour as well. It's even from journalists I admire will make snarky remarks about Glamour. And I just think, we're one of the top magazines in the world for women's media. Women love reading us. Why is that such a weird thing for you? So I love any publication that is just unapologetically about, by, and for women. And Teen Vogue is definitely up there. And obviously I love Glamour and I love Cosmo as well. I started my career at Cosmo.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Can we talk? Yeah, I know. Can we talk? What type of things are people sending you? Like, oh, can't believe you're talking about periods again.
Yeah.
Can't like what?
I think, it's a lot of our Instagram comments.
Oh God.
Will be
The
along
trolls.
the trolls. Yeah. I mean, we did an amazing cover last year featuring Logan Brown, who
Yes.
is a transgender man who was pregnant at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, we have to share his story. And it all comes back to healthcare again, because so many of the issues he was facing as a trans man in the healthcare system are also faced by cisgender women in the healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, what a brilliant opportunity to talk about allyship between cis women and trans men via this cover, and how cisgender women shouldn't be scared of transgender people. They should see we're natural allies. But obviously that was an incredibly divisive cover. Many people in the LGBT community loved it. Obviously we got so much hate. It was on various right-wing panel shows where it's just like, God, we've gone full woke, as if woke is a bad thing.
Oh,
but it was right. And I was so just honored to be working for a publication. And, Deborah Joseph, our editor-in-chief, really championed it the whole way. And she knew it would be divisive, but we just thought, as long as Logan's
still did it,
we've got to do it, because this is
love it.
Our times, and trans rights in the UK especially are really used as like political football. They really are. It's just every day there's a new MP talking about how they're going to restrict transgender people's rights. Today a Labour MP has come out and said transgender women will be on separate hospital wards.
Oh God.
And you just feel like saying, we have no hospital wards. Where are you going to put them? It's so underfunded in the country. So it feels like those moments. I'm so proud to be that divisive, or to offer that alternative viewpoint. Yeah, I hope we have another moment like that this year.
I hope so too. And really, just hateful people just hate themselves. That's the sad part.
Exactly.
That's the sad part. Okay. Oh, Lucy, this is such a juicy conversation.
Yeah.
I just love it. Okay, a little more thing on the publicist side, and then we have our little rapid fire questions here. How is the story approval process for you?
So it's fine, to be honest. I mean, it just depends on the publicist. Sometimes it can be a bit iffy. I hate receiving a list of kind of like deliverables before we've even started, like negotiations. I think it's good to like establish interest between both parties before demanding things. Quite often I cannot meet all those deliverables. I just cannot. So it's good for to establish a give and take relationship early on. But generally it's not a problem. Most publicists I work with are just wonderful, wonderful people. And no complaints really.
Great to know. Okay, Lucy, little rapid fire question session. Give us your take. Here we go. Video or phone interview?
I think I would go for a phone interview.
Bullet points or paragraphs in a pitch?
Paragraphs, because I love to see how people write. So I think you can get a lot more for a writer if they're writing in paragraphs. But I would always say 3 paragraphs max.
Great. Then that answers the next question, short or long pitches. So I would say short if you're doing paragraphs. Yep. Images attached or Dropbox zip file?
Ooh, attached, I think. Let me see them straight away.
Okay. Email or Twitter X DM?
Definitely an email. My social media is just a no-go for any work. I just don't go on social media. So
noted.
Email.
One follow-up or multiple?
Honestly, follow up as much as you want. I say most of the time, if I've not responded and it's a pitch that I'm probably likely to be interested in, I have just missed it. So follow up as much as you will. Obviously, if it's not like a commerce or beauty thing, if it's like feminist empowerment and I genuinely will like it, keep following.
Direct or creative subject lines?
Direct.
Press release or media kit?
Press release.
What time do you usually read pitches, or is it just all the time?
It's all the time. I mean, I always say 7 a.m. is the best time to pitch me because that's when I'm doing my sort of like pre-work work.
Your pre-work. Yep.
Yeah. But anytime, honestly, if it's a good pitch, and I will get back to you.
Okay. And we already covered sources, so I think we're good on that front. Lucy, do you have any last things you want to promote, highlight, celebrate?
Yeah, I would love
Yes.
Yeah, about we last year launched a Glamour Talks consent survey all around basically our readers' attitudes towards sexual consent, both online and offline. We will be releasing the results of the survey, which are very juicy, later this year. And I'm so excited to essentially start the next phase of our campaigning around consent. And yeah, super interested in everyone's thoughts on that and excited to share that with the rest of the world.
Lucy, thank you for being on here today. By the way, on your day off even, look at her. Yeah. She is here. She is showing up. It's a pleasure to chat with you, Lucy. If I'm ever in the UK, we will go for some tea, but quickly, no lunch, too long. It will be great.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucy. Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's Coffee with the Journalist episode featuring Lucy Morgan from Glamour. For more exclusive insights about the journalists on this podcast, subscribe to our weekly podcast newsletter at onepitch.co/podcast. We'll see you next week, but until then, start great stories.